I grew up in a small town in West Virginia. In 2021, I was a freshman in college, and COVID was still a big factor. Most students didn't live in the dorms. Instead, they rented apartments nearby. I didn't have the money for that, so I stayed in the dorms and usually went home on weekends. On my first day, I met my roommate. The school had given. In my last year at the University of Huddersfield, 2023, I had to finish a massive project for my statistics class. My laptop wasn't working well, so I went to the business building late at night to use the computers. The building was 3 stories tall, old, and eerily quiet at night. I started working in the second floor computer lab around 10 p.m. By 11:30, I heard a door slam shut somewhere down the hall. At first, I ignored it, but then came footsteps. Slow, heavy, and deliberate. They stopped right outside the lab. The door handle rattled violently, as if someone was trying to get in. The doors locked automatically at night, so I knew they couldn't just walk in, but the sound made my stomach drop. After about 30 seconds, the rattling stopped, and the footsteps faded away. I tried to focus on my work, but soon I heard something worse. Movement above me. The ceiling tiles creaked, and I saw one shift slightly under pressure. Someone was crawling in the ceiling. I panicked, yanked out my flash drive, stuffed my bag, and ran. I headed for the stairwell, but as I looked up at the landing 1 floor above, I froze. A man stood there. He wasn't a student or a professor. His clothes were ragged, his face partly in shadow, and he wore this unnaturally wide grin. He just stared at me. I bolted, nearly falling down the stairs. I sprinted out of the building, swiped my ID to escape, and didn't stop running until I was safely in my dorm. The next morning, I returned to submit my project. In daylight, the building felt normal again, until I noticed 2 ceiling tiles missing, the same ones above the spot where I had been sitting. Whoever that was, they weren't just trying to scare me. They had been waiting for me. When I was 16, I was in high school in the UK. At my school, everyone had ID lanyards you had to scan to get past the foyer into the rest of the building. One day during class, I asked to use the bathroom. On my way back, I passed through the empty cafeteria and noticed a man sitting alone. He looked too old to be a student, so I assumed he was a teacher or maybe a parent. He had a lanyard on, so I didn't think twice. He smiled and said, "Hey." I jumped but laughed nervously. Then he said he needed help carrying some work stuff from his car. Without thinking, I said, "Sure." We walked out in silence. He seemed nervous, fidgeting with his hands. Teachers usually make small talk, but he didn't. As we got to the parking lot, he said, "It's the blue one at the end." As we approached, I realized there were 2 men crouched in the back seat. My stomach dropped. Before I could react, the back door flew open, and one of them started climbing out. The man beside me grabbed my arm. I don't know how, but I yanked free and ran as fast as I could back toward the school. I could hear their footsteps chasing me, but they stopped when I reached the glass entrance doors. I made it inside, ran straight to the cafe, and told the staff. The police came, reviewed the security footage, and arrested the men. It turned out the guy had found a student's dropped lanyard, which is how he got inside. He had flipped the ID card backwards so his picture wouldn't show. They were charged with attempted kidnapping. I didn't go back to school for weeks and still go to therapy for it. That remains the scariest experience of my life.